Hello there, and welcome to the Serene Scroll. I am so glad you are here. Perhaps it has been a long day, and you are seeking a quiet space to let your mind settle. Here, we let stories unfold gently, like ink bleeding softly into paper. And just before we begin our journey tonight, if these quiet explorations help you unwind or give you a peaceful way to end your day, consider gently tapping the like button and subscribing to the channel. It allows our small sanctuary to grow. Now, find a comfortable position, let your breathing slow, and let us begin. There is a moment just as the day surrenders to the night, when the sky is not yet black, but a deep, bruised purple. The sun has fallen below the horizon, but its memory still bleeds across the edge of the world, a fading warmth of orange and rose. In this quiet liminal space, the world holds its breath, and it is here in this hush that she first appears, a single unwavering point of light. Long before the other stars have the courage to show themselves, she is there. The evening star. She does not twinkle like the distant frantic suns of other galaxies. Her light is a steady silver-white glow, a serene and confident presence. She hangs in the twilight, like a lantern lit just for you, a celestial beacon in the vast darkening sea of the cosmos. To the ancient world, she was a goddess, a promise, a guide. The Babylonians called her Ishtar, Queen of Heaven, a deity of both love and war, her appearance in the evening and the morning a symbol of life's profound duality. The Greeks for a time believed she was two separate beings, Hesperus, the star of evening, and Phosphorus, the light bringer of the dawn. It took them centuries to realize they were gazing at the same wanderer, a celestial character playing two different roles in the grand theater of the sky. This single object has held humanity's gaze for as long as we have had eyes to look up. It has been a constant in our ever-changing story. It was there when the first campfires were lit, a silent witness to our ancestors' hopes and fears. It shone down on the building of pyramids and the fall of empires. It was the last light sailors saw before turning their faces to the dark, open ocean, and the first light to greet them with the promise of a new day. In every culture across every continent, it has been given a name, a story, a meaning. Venus, a name that conjures images of beauty, of grace, of an almost divine calm. And for millennia, that is all she was to us, the most beautiful, the most peaceful, the most reliable light in our sky, second only to the moon. And this is the first and perhaps greatest paradox of Venus, the profound deception. Because the light that travels 93 million miles to reach your eye, the light that seems so pure and gentle, is a lie. It is a beautiful mask for a reality so violent, so inhospitable, that it defies our earthly imagination. The serene beacon of the twilight is in truth a vision of hell. Our understanding began to shift, not with a philosopher's ponderings, but with the cold, hard gaze of mathematics and physics. As our telescopes grew more powerful, the brilliant point of light resolved into a disk, but a featureless one. It was shrouded completely and permanently in a thick blanket of clouds. For a long time, science fiction writers and even some scientists imagined a world beneath those clouds, perhaps a swampy tropical paradise, humid and warm like a prehistoric Earth. A world of mystery hidden behind a veil. The truth, when it came, was far more shocking. The first messengers we sent, the robotic probes of the Mariner and Venera missions, were like messengers sent to the underworld. They did not return. They burned, they were crushed, they were dissolved. As they fell through the planet's atmosphere, They sent back readings that were at first scarcely believable. The clouds that give Venus its brilliant pearly sheen are not made of water vapor. They are laced with droplets of sulfuric acid, a corrosive mist that would dissolve metal and flesh with equal indifference. And beneath these acid clouds lies the atmosphere itself. It is almost entirely carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas of unimaginable density. The atmospheric pressure at the surface of Venus is over 90 times that of Earth's. To stand on its surface would be the equivalent of being nearly a kilometer deep in our own ocean. The weight of the sky itself would crush any terrestrial structure, any human body into oblivion in an instant. The air is so thick it is almost a fluid, a soupy, superheated sea of gas that sluggishly moves across the landscape. And then there is the heat. That thick carbon dioxide blanket has trapped the sun's energy for billions of years in a runaway greenhouse effect. The surface of Venus is the hottest of any planet in our solar system, hotter even than Mercury, which is twice as close to the sun. The average temperature is a staggering 462 degrees Celsius, or 864 degrees Fahrenheit. It is hot enough to melt lead. The rocks on the ground glow with a dull red heat, even in the dead of night. There is no water, no relief, no shade that could offer comfort. It is a planetary furnace, a world sterilized by its own atmosphere. The light we see, that beautiful, tranquil evening star, is not the gentle glow of a peaceful world. It is the reflected glare from the top of a toxic, crushing, burning inferno. Venus is a cosmic siren luring us with a song of serene light while hiding a nature of pure violence. The morning star. The bringer of light is also a world of eternal, suffocating darkness at its surface, where the thick clouds permanently block out the stars and the sun is only a dim, indistinct smear in the sky. This revelation presents us with a profound question, one that sits at the very heart of our journey. Why go? Why even dream of approaching a place so utterly hostile to life? We cannot walk upon its surface. We cannot breathe its air. We cannot harvest its resources. It is a celestial fortress, beautiful from afar, but deadly up close. The journey is not one of conquest or colonization, as we might dream for Mars or the Moon. A journey to Venus is something else entirely. It is perhaps a pilgrimage, a journey made not for what we can gain, but for what we can understand. We travel to Venus because it is a mirror. It shows us what a world so like our own in size and mass can become when its climate takes a different path. It is a cautionary tale written in the language of physics, a stark reminder of the delicate, fragile balance that allows life to flourish here on our blue oasis. To study Venus is to study ourselves, to understand the knife's edge upon which our own world rests. But there is a deeper, more human reason too. We journey to the impossible because it is in our nature to reach, to stand at the shore of the known and cast our gaze out into the unknown. The act of journeying to a place we can never touch is an act of pure curiosity, of pure reverence. It is an acknowledgement that the universe is filled with wonders that are not for us to possess, but simply to witness. We build a ship to cross the void, not to plant a flag, but to bear witness to a terrible and majestic beauty that exists for its own sake. To float in the upper, more temperate layers of its atmosphere, to watch the acid clouds drift below, to see the faint, ruddy glow of the surface far beneath. It is to be a ghost at the feast, a silent observer of a world of fire and pressure. The dream of such a voyage is a testament to the power of the human mind, the ability to conceive of a journey that transcends the limitations of our own bodies. We cannot survive there, but our creations can. Our understanding can. Our spirit of inquiry can. The planet that has been a symbol of love and beauty in our myths becomes a symbol of the sublime in our science, a power so vast and indifferent that to simply behold it is to be changed. And so, we turn our gaze from the distant serene point of light in our sky to the immense practical challenge of the journey itself. To even begin to approach this celestial furnace, this veiled world, we must first build a sanctuary. We must construct a vessel that is not just a machine of transit, but a self-contained world, a tiny fragile bubble of Earth's environment capable of protecting its occupants from the dual threats of the absolute cold of space and the crushing heat of our destination. To reach for the fire, we must first master the void. The dream, the philosophy, the poetry of the journey must now give way to the cold, hard reality of steel and circuits of life support and radiation shielding. Our gaze must fall from the heavens and turn inward to the architecture of departure. Before any journey can truly begin, we must first understand the vessel that carries us. It is not merely a machine of metal and wire, but an idea given form, a sanctuary built for the long dark. Here in the quiet moments before the great push, the ship is a world unto itself, breathing with a slow electric pulse. Feel that gentle vibration beneath you, a deep and resonant hum that is not a sound, but a feeling in the bones. It is the language of contained power, the hum of countless systems, all in perfect silent agreement. This is the architecture of departure. Our vessel is what engineers would call a worldlet, a small, self-sufficient sphere designed to cradle life across the immense, sterile emptiness between planets. It is less like a vehicle and more like a seed, carrying within its hull all the complex chemistry and delicate balances required for a mind to think and a heart to beat. Its outer shell is a marvel of material science, a layered composite that is both impossibly strong and deceptively light. It is polished to a mirror sheen, not for vanity, but to reflect the harsh, unfiltered sunlight of the void, turning away the punishing radiation that saturates interplanetary space. It is a shield against the two great extremes, the absolute cold of shadow and the searing heat of the sun. It is a testament to an understanding of the universe not as a place to be conquered, but as an environment to be respected, an ocean for which one must build a worthy ship. Within this protective shell, the worldlet is a marvel of purpose. There are no superfluous corridors, no grand empty spaces. Every curve of every wall, every placement of a light panel, every handhold has been considered for decades. The design philosophy was not one of speed, but of endurance, not of luxury, but of well-being. The ambient light shifts with a 24-hour cycle, a gentle artificial echo of a rhythm we are about to leave behind. The air, you might notice, has a clean, slightly earthy scent, a deliberate touch of the organic within the sterile. It is a constant, subtle reminder of the living systems that sustain us here. This is a place built by 1,000 careful hands and 1,000,000 hours of thought, a hermetically sealed promise that we will be safe. To leave our world is not a simple act of rising. It is an argument with gravity, one of the most fundamental forces in the cosmos. Earth holds on to everything it has with an ancient and powerful embrace. To slip that grasp requires a precise and immense expenditure of energy. The engines deep in the vessel's core are not instruments of violent explosion, but of sustained, controlled release. Imagine a great river focused into a single, silent, incandescent stream. This is the nature of the ion drive, the patient heart of our ship. It does not tear its way through the atmosphere with fire and fury. Instead, it will gently, persistently, and relentlessly push. For hours and then for days, it will accelerate molecule by molecule, second by second. It is the physics of the tortoise, not the hare. This constant gentle thrust is the most efficient way to travel the vast distances of the solar system. We are not being thrown towards Venus. We are being carefully, deliberately nudged out of one gravitational orbit and into another. We are, in a sense, learning to fall with intention. We will fall away from the Earth, and then for months we will fall around the Sun, until we are caught by the gentle gravitational sigh of Venus herself. The great hum we feel now is the sound of that potential, the engines gathering the power for this long and graceful fall upwards, away from the ground and into the sky. It is a sound of profound reassurance, the sound of a force so great it can rewrite our path through the heavens, yet so controlled it can be felt as little more than a whisper in the floor. But the most beautiful piece of architecture on this vessel is not the hull or the engines. It is the life support system, the quiet, unsung miracle that makes this journey possible. It is a closed loop, a perfect miniature biosphere. It is Earth's grand planetary cycles of air, water, and nutrients scaled down to the size of a small room. Let us trace the path of a single breath. The air you exhale, rich with carbon dioxide, is drawn away through silent vents. It is not discarded. It is a precious resource. It is channeled into the green heart of the ship, the hydroponics bay. Here, under the warm purple glow of full-spectrum LEDs, is a hanging garden suspended in the dark. Spirulina algae in glowing green tanks drink in the carbon dioxide and the light, and through the ancient magic of photosynthesis, they release pure, clean oxygen. This oxygen is then mixed, humidified, and gently circulated back into the cabin. Every breath you take is a gift from this small, vibrant garden. It is a living lung for our steel body. The water, too, is part of this endless circle. Every drop is sacred. The water from washing from the air's humidity from our own bodies is collected. It passes through a series of filters, first mechanical, then biological, then finally through a vapor phase distiller that uses the vacuum of space itself to purify it. What emerges is water that is cleaner and purer than any mountain spring. It is a system so efficient that we will not lose more than a thimbleful of water over the entire 9-month journey. To drink a glass of water on this ship is to partake in a cycle that is months, perhaps years old. It is a deep physical connection to the ingenuity and care that built this place. It is a microcosm of the planet we are leaving, a planet that has been performing this same magic on a grand scale for billions of years. And guiding all of this, watching over every system, is the ship's automated consciousness. It is not a thinking mind in the way we understand it, but rather a vast, intricate web of logic. Thousands of sensors monitor everything from the temperature of the outer hull to the pH level of the nutrient solution in the hydroponics bay. These systems do not sleep. They do not get distracted. They are the silent, vigilant stewards of our tiny world. They are the ghost of 1,000 careful thoughts, the encoded wisdom of the brightest minds, all working in silent unison to keep the balance. This automation is not here to replace us, but to free us. It handles the colossal burden of mechanical complexity so that the human mind can be free to observe, to wonder, and to witness the journey. It allows for the quiet contemplation that is the true purpose of our voyage. Even your personal space, your small cabin, is an extension of this philosophy. It is small but not confining. One wall is a screen currently dark, but soon to become our window onto the cosmos. There is a simple berth, a desk that folds from the wall, and a small secure niche for a few personal mementos, a book, a photograph, a small smooth stone. It is a space designed for introspection, a monk's cell for the modern explorer. It acknowledges that the most important journey will not be the millions of miles to Venus, but the few inches between one's own ears. It is a space to write, to read, to think, and to simply be as the universe slowly unfolds outside. And so this vessel is complete. It is a body with a strong skeleton and a gleaming skin. It is a circulatory system with its endless loops of water and air. It is a nervous system with its silent, vigilant automation. It is a shelter, a garden, and a laboratory all in one. It is the culmination of a dream, a physical manifestation of our desire to reach out to understand our place in the family of worlds. Everything is ready. The final checks have been completed 1,000 times over. The systems are all humming their quiet song of readiness. All that is left is the release. The final countdown is not a frantic race against a clock, but a slow, methodical disengagement from the world that made us. It is the letting go of umbilicals, the severing of the last physical tethers to the ground. Soon the gentle push will begin, and this small, self-contained world will lift away from the greater one. Through the viewport, the familiar shapes of the launch facility will recede, and the vast blue curve of home will begin to dominate the view, a silent, breathtaking presence waiting just beyond the glass. The journey is not yet in motion, but the leaving has already begun. We are on the precipice preparing for the long farewell. The quiet hum that has become the world's most constant heartbeat begins to change. It deepens, gathers itself like a musician, drawing a slow, deliberate breath before playing a single resonant chord. Outside the viewport, the soft curve of the earth still fills the frame of familiar and living presence. You have circled it for days, a satellite tethered by the invisible string of gravity, watching the continents drift by in silent procession, watching the thunderstorms bloom like flashes of white fire in the deep blue night. But that circling is now at its end. On the console before you, a sequence of lights illuminates, not with alarm, but with serene confirmation. Each one is a promise, kept a system verified. A quiet chime, as soft as a temple bell, announces the final alignment. The ship has been turned its gaze, no longer tracing the planet's edge, but aimed outward toward a precise empty point in the star-dusted velvet of space. This is the calculated window, the geometric keyhole through which you must pass to fall not toward the Earth, but towards Venus. There is no countdown shouted from a distant control room. There is only the soft internal pulse of the chronometer and the deep growing thrum that you feel more in your chest than you hear with your ears. And then it begins. It is not a violent kick, but a profound and ceaseless pressure. A firm, invisible hand, gently but relentlessly, presses you back into your seat. The ship is awake now, its contained power unleashed in a single, sustained breath of fire. Through the thick, layered glass, you cannot see the plume of the engine, but you can feel its soul. You feel it as a vibration that works its way through the metallic bones of the vessel, through the padding of your chair, and into your own skeleton. It is the feeling of becoming a projectile of purpose being translated into motion. The universe does not shudder. The stars do not move. Only you do. For long, silent minutes, this is the entire reality, the unwavering pressure, the deep and resonant hum, and the sight of Earth's limb which begins to curve away at a new and unfamiliar rate. The gentle tyranny of gravity which has defined every moment of your life, of every human life, is finally losing its hold. You are climbing out of the well, pushing against the fundamental force that shaped your world. Then, as gently as it began, the pressure subsides. The deep hum fades back into its resting state. A profound silence descends, a quiet so complete it feels like a presence in itself. The ship is now sailing on the momentum of that single powerful push. It is committed. There is no turning back. Your trajectory is now a long, graceful fall across the inner solar system, a voyage of millions of miles that was decided in those few vibrating minutes. You unstrap and float towards the main viewport, drawn by an impulse as old as humanity itself, to look back at where you came from. And what you see steals the breath from your lungs. Earth is no longer a place. It is no longer the ground beneath your feet or the sky above your head. It has become a thing, a perfect, fragile, impossible thing, suspended in the absolute black. It is a sphere of swirling white clouds, deep blue oceans, and the faint, earthy tones of land, all of it swimming in the sun's distant, brilliant light. You see the whole of it. Not a map, not a globe, but the living planet itself. This is the moment astronauts have tried to describe for generations, a cognitive shift so profound it has been given a name, the overview effect. It is not an idea you learn, but a truth you remember in your bones. From this vantage, there are no borders drawn in ink. There are no nations, no divisions, no conflicting ideologies. There is only this one unified breathing organism. Every war ever fought, every cathedral ever built, every poem ever written, every quiet act of kindness, and every shout of anger. All of it. The entire human story is contained within that silent, swirling sphere. You feel an overwhelming, paradoxical mix of emotions. A deep, aching connection to the 7 billion souls living and dreaming on that marble of blue and white, and at the same time, an absolute crystalline separateness. You are no longer there. You are here. The physical umbilical cord has been severed. Your life is sustained not by the planet's atmosphere, but by the quiet humming systems of this small metal sanctuary. As you continue to watch, another familiar shape comes into view. The moon, our pale and constant guardian, which has dominated Earth's night sky for millennia, drifts into the frame. From this new perspective, it looks so close to the Earth, a smaller, grayer sphere, faithfully tracing its orbit. You see them together, the Earth and the moon, performing a slow, celestial ballet. They are a system, a family moving as one through the void. It is a sight of such sublime and silent beauty that it feels sacred. For so long the moon was the destination, the ultimate symbol of reaching beyond. Now, it is just a part of the home you are leaving behind. Hours pass, though the concept of an hour is already starting to feel arbitrary. The Earth-Moon system does not set. It simply recedes. It shrinks. The majestic world-filling arc becomes a ball, then a marble, then a bright blue-white jewel. The details fade. First the continents blur, then the clouds become a uniform white sheen. The moon becomes a fleck of silver beside a sapphire. The farewell is not a single sharp moment of departure, but a slow, unfolding process of letting go. With every passing minute, the light from your home takes longer to reach you. You are quite literally seeing it in the past. The ship glides onward, a silent testament to a species that learned to draw fire from the sky and shape metal to its will. The initial awe of the view begins to soften, replaced by a new and pervasive reality, the immense velvet emptiness of interplanetary space. The sun is a fierce, unfiltered star to one side, no longer softened by an atmosphere. The other stars do not twinkle. They are hard, steady points of ancient light scattered across a blackness so pure and deep it seems to have weight. The cockpit, which felt so vast and full of potential, while in orbit, now feels like a tiny, fragile shell. It is an island of warmth and life, in an ocean of cold, indifferent vacuum. The hum of the life support system, the gentle click of a relay, the soft whir of a fan. These are now the only sounds in your universe. They are the sounds of your survival. Looking back one last time at the point of light that is now both Earth and its moon, you realize that the most fundamental rhythms of your life have been left behind. The grand clockwork of home, the comforting cycle of sunrise and sunset, the pull of the tides, the changing of the seasons is gone. Those cycles which have been embedded in human consciousness since the very beginning have been replaced by the steady, indifferent pulse of the ship's chronometer. Here, there is no day or night, only the ship's designated sleep and wake cycles. There is no weather, only the constant quiet hum of the climate control. The journey has truly begun, and its first lesson is one of profound isolation. The farewell is complete. You are now adrift on the solar tide, and ahead of you lies nothing but the long, quiet, and unpunctuated expanse of the cruise. Time itself feels different out here, stretched thin without landmarks. The urgent ticking minutes of the launch have given way to a vast and formless sea of days, weeks, and months. And you begin to wonder in this new silent reality how you will measure the passing of your own life. The quiet hum that has become the world's most constant heartbeat begins to change. It deepens, gathers itself like a musician, drawing a slow, deliberate breath before playing a single resonant chord. Outside the viewport, the soft curve of the earth still fills the frame of familiar and living presence. You have circled it for days, a satellite tethered by the invisible string of gravity, watching the continents drift by in silent procession, watching the thunderstorms bloom like flashes of white fire in the deep blue night. But that tether has now been cut. The resonant chord sounds a vibration felt more in the bones than in the ears, and the gentle arc of home begins to shrink. The planet, once a world that filled your entire vision, becomes a sphere, then a marble, then a brilliant blue star hanging in the velvet black. And with its slow, inexorable retreat, something else is lost. Something so fundamental, so deeply woven into the fabric of your being, that its absence is at first a strange and nameless void. The sun no longer rises, the moon no longer sets. The great celestial clockwork that has governed every life form for billions of years, the rhythm of dawn and dusk, of work and rest, of waking and dreaming, has vanished. Out here, there is only one time now, an eternal unchanging, now illuminated by the cold, steady light of a billion distant suns, and the one star you now orbit, which has ceased to be a painter of morning skies, and has become simply the brightest point of light in an infinite field. In the absence of a natural day, a new God must be created, a new ruler to portion out the endless flow of existence. That God is the clock. Its glowing digits on the console are no longer a mere measure of time. They are the creators of it. The ship's chronometer is now the sun, the moon, and the stars. It dictates the new sunrise, which arrives not with a golden glow over a horizon, but with a soft, programmed increase in the cabin's ambient light. It commands midday, a period of work defined not by the sun's peak, but by a series of scheduled system checks and reports. And it brings the night, a gentle dimming of the lights that invites a sleep untethered from any true darkness outside. This is the tyranny of the clock. A benevolent tyranny perhaps, but a tyranny nonetheless. Your body, a vessel of ancient rhythms, does not understand. It still listens for the whisper of a dawn chorus that will never come. It still feels the phantom weight of a late afternoon sun it will never see. There are moments adrift in the regulated twilight of the ship's evening when you feel a profound and baseless sense of being awake at the wrong time, a jet lag that stretches across millions of kilometers instead of a few time zones. You are an organism of Earth, trying to live by the pulse of a machine in the timeless ocean of space. And so, you turn to ritual. If the clock is the skeleton of your new reality, then ritual is the muscle and sinew that give it life and meaning. You discover that in the vast, featureless expanse of the journey, it is the small, repeated actions that become your anchors. The day, as dictated by the chronometer, begins not just with the brightening of lights, but with the specific, deliberate sequence of making coffee. The hiss of the water heater, the careful measurement of the grounds, the bloom of the dark liquid in the zero-gravity press. The aroma that fills the small cabin is more than just a pleasant smell. It is an act of defiance. It is the scent of 1,000 quiet mornings on Earth, a sensory memory that carves out a small, familiar space in the sterile, recycled air of the ship. You hold the warm bulb in your hands, and for a few minutes, you are grounded. Then comes the ritual of the body. In a world without gravity's constant pull, muscles and bones begin to forget their purpose. So you strap yourself into the exercise harness, a web of resistance bands and gyroscopes. The strain and pull, the rhythmic burn of exertion, is a conversation with your own physical form. Each stretch, each repetition, is a declaration, I am still here. I am a body, not just a mind floating in a metal shell. The rhythmic count becomes a mantra, a prayer of embodiment against the dissolving influence of the void. You are not just passing time. You are inhabiting it, filling it with the deliberate presence of your own life force. The day unfolds as a series of these small sacred acts. The system diagnostics check is not a chore. It is a communion with the ship itself. You trace the flow of power, monitor the oxygen levels, listen to the whisper of the life support. Your fingers dance across the consoles, and the soft green glow of each nominal reading is a quiet affirmation. All is well. The ship is breathing. You are breathing. Together you form a single symbiotic organism navigating the emptiness. Every task, no matter how mundane, is imbued with a new weight, a new significance. Cleaning a sensor, calibrating a navigational array, logging data. These are the ways you tend to the world. And since the ship is now your entire world, these acts become a form of planetary stewardship on the smallest possible scale. But time, even when meticulously structured, behaves strangely out here. It loses its familiar texture. On Earth, a day is filled with countless subtle variations. The quality of the light changes, the temperature shifts, the sounds of the world rise and fall. These variations give time a shape, a contour. Here, in the constant environment of the ship, 1 hour is indistinguishable from the next. The light is the same, the temperature is the same, the low, omnipresent hum is the same. Time becomes a flat, featureless plane. A week can pass in what feels like a single long, drawn-out afternoon, or a single 12-hour shift can stretch into an eternity, each second ticking by with an almost audible wait. This is the psychological dilation of time, the way the mind's perception of its passage warps when all external cues are removed. You are living in the raw, unfiltered medium of duration itself, and it is a disorienting and at times deeply unsettling experience. There are moments when you will pause midway through a task and float to the main viewport. You look out not at Earth anymore, but at the starfield. It is terrifyingly beautifully static. The constellations do not wheel across the sky. The stars do not twinkle. They are sharp, unwavering points of ancient light. The scene is a photograph that never changes. You could watch for an hour, or a day, or a week, and the view would remain precisely the same. In this unchanging vista, you feel the true scale of your journey. You are a single conscious mote of dust, moving with incredible speed, yet the universe around you is so vast that your motion seems to register as nothing at all. It is in these moments that the clock feels most like a tyrant, its insistent ticking a ridiculous imposition of human measurement on a cosmos that is utterly indifferent to it. And yet, it is also in these moments that you feel a strange gratitude for its mechanical heartbeat. Without it, you might simply dissolve into that static, timeless view, losing all sense of beginning, middle, or end. The clock is your cage, but it is also your sanctuary. It is the anchor that holds your sanity, the rhythm that keeps the soul from drifting away into the silent, star-dusted abyss. You learn to live, not just by it, but within it. Its structured pulse becomes a kind of deep space meditation, a framework upon which you can hang the quiet moments of reflection, the small joys, the enduring sense of purpose that brought you here. The tyranny of the clock slowly transforms into a kind of grace. It is the steady hand that guides you through the long, quiet darkness. It is the promise that one moment will indeed follow the next. And within this rigid schedule of survival and maintenance, there is one ritual that is different from all the others. It is not about the body, nor the ship, nor the self-contained world you inhabit. It is the scheduled window for communication, a specific block of time governed by the relentless clock dedicated to bridging the impossible distance back to the world you left behind. It is the one moment when the hermetically sealed reality of the journey is intentionally punctured, allowing a signal to pass through. As that time approaches, a different kind of energy fills the cabin, a quiet, focused anticipation. The routine tasks are finished, the systems are stable, and all that is left is to turn your attention outward across the growing emptiness to listen for a voice that has traveled for minutes or eventually longer to reach you. You prepare the console, aligning the antenna, your movements as deliberate and practiced as any other ritual, but this time they are charged with something more. This is not about maintaining the present. It is about connecting to the past and to the future. It is the moment to hear a whisper from across the void. The deep, resonant chord of the engines fades, not into silence, but into a different kind of quiet. The constant thrumming vibration that has been your companion for hours, the gentle pressure against your back releases you. There is a weightlessness now that feels more profound than before, a sense of having been let go. The invisible string of gravity has been cut, and you are drifting finally and irrevocably into the deep. Earth is no longer a world that fills your window. It is a sphere, a perfect blue and white marble, hanging in the blackness, already looking smaller than you remember, smaller than it has any right to be. The sun catches its atmosphere, creating a brilliant razor-thin halo of impossible blue, a final fleeting aura of the world you knew. This is the moment, the first true message home. Not an update from orbit, not a systems check, but a whisper from the wilderness. You drift toward the communications console, a simple interface of soft, glowing light. On the screen is a blank slate, a cursor blinking with quiet, patient rhythm. What do you say? How do you condense the experience of departure? The sight of a world shrinking behind you, the feeling of infinite space opening before you into a string of words. Every character sent is a small expenditure of energy, a precious resource. Every word must be chosen as if it were a stone being carefully placed in a garden, each one bearing the weight of meaning. You think of the letters of ancient mariners, written by candlelight in the rolling bellies of wooden ships, knowing they might not be read for months or years or ever. Their words were heavy with salt and uncertainty. Your words will travel not on water, but on waves of light. Yet they are burdened with a new kind of distance, a distance measured in the speed of the universe itself. You begin to type, not a grand pronouncement or a poetic verse, something small, something human. You speak of the color of the Earth's halo. You mention the silence after the engine cut off. You ask a simple question, a message directed to one person, a single voice you long to hear among the billions below. You read the words over and over, polishing them, turning them in your mind. Is this enough? Does it say what needs to be said? In this vast emptiness, simplicity feels like the only truth. You add a final line, everything is quiet now. I hope it is for you too. With a gentle touch, you commit the message. There is no sound of sending, no satisfying whoosh or chime. The ship's high-gain antenna, a delicate mesh dish on the outside of the hull, simply reorients itself with a series of nearly imperceptible clicks. It finds the glimmering point of light that is Earth and releases your thoughts encoded into a tight beam of radio waves. A ghost of your voice, traveling at 186,000 miles per second. And then there is only the waiting. The waiting is an entirely new state of being. It is not the impatient waiting of a traffic light or the anxious waiting for a phone to ring. It is a patient geological kind of waiting. You watch the mission clock. A minute passes. Your message is now over 11 million miles away, a third of the way to the moon. It is an invisible tendril of thought stretching out behind you in the ship's wake. 2 minutes, 3. The delay for now is manageable. When you were in orbit, communication was almost instantaneous. Now the gap is noticeable. 4 minutes after you sent the message, you see the confirmation that it has reached a tracking station on Earth. Your words have arrived. Someone somewhere is reading them. They are reading the words of a person who is now 4 minutes older and thousands of miles farther away than the person who wrote them. This is the strange and profound nature of this conversation. You are becoming a ghost from the future. You are speaking to their past. When they formulate a reply, they are speaking to a version of you that no longer exists a you that was closer, younger, a you that was still in the place you were when you sent your greeting. Their words in turn will take another 4 minutes to climb back up the gravity well and cross the void to find you. The entire exchange from your thought to their reply will be framed by an 8-minute silence, an 8-minute gulf of pure space-time. You turn away from the console and float to the main viewport. Earth is still there, a beautiful, brilliant jewel. You know that on its surface, life is unfolding in real time. Conversations are happening, cars are moving, winds are blowing. But the Earth you see is the Earth of 4 minutes ago. The light carrying that image to your eyes has taken that long to travel. You are watching a memory. You can't help but wonder what has happened in the 4 minutes since that light left home. Has the person you wrote to moved from one room to another? Have they taken a sip of tea? Have they looked up at the sky, wondering where you are? You are living in a conversation with an echo. You send a call into the void, and you must wait for the sound to bounce off the wall of a distant world and return to you. And with every passing hour, that wall moves farther away. Tomorrow the delay will be longer. Next week, a single back and forth exchange will take the better part of an hour. By the time you approach Venus, it will take over 20 minutes to ask a question and receive an answer. Conversations will become like games of chess, played by mail, each move considered deliberate and separated by an immense pause for thought. The preciousness of it is overwhelming. In a world of instant communication, of endless streams of information, you have been cast back to a more deliberate time, a time when every word was an event. A message home is no longer a casual act. It is a ritual. It is a confirmation of existence sent across a distance that defies human intuition. It is a testament to a connection so strong it can be maintained by a thread of invisible light, a thread that becomes ever more stretched and tenuous, but never breaks. A soft chime breaks your reverie. The reply has arrived. You return to the console. The words appear on the screen, and for a moment, the ship, the void, the distance. It all vanishes. The voice is there, familiar and warm, even in plain text. They speak of their day. They answer your question. They say they looked at a picture of you just before the message arrived. They end with, "We hear you're quiet, sending you some of our noise. Be safe." The relief is a physical sensation, a warmth that spreads through your chest. The connection is made. The echo has returned. But as you read the words again, the melancholy returns, softer this time, but deeper. This message was written 8 minutes ago on a world that is now millions of miles farther away. It is a letter from a ghost in your own past. You are both haunting each other, whispering across an ever-widening sea. This single exchange has recalibrated your sense of the world. Home is not a place you can call. It is a point of light you can speak to with patience and with intention. The universe, you realize, is not hostile. It is not empty. It is simply vast. Its primary language is distance, and its essential nature is silence. To communicate across it is a miracle of engineering, but also an act of profound faith that your whisper will be heard and that another whisper will find its way back to you. You look away from the glowing screen, away from the distant star that is your home. The desire to send another message immediately is strong, but you resist. The ritual is complete. It is time to let the silence settle again, to honor the space between the words. Your gaze falls upon the interior of your small vessel. the soft hum of the life support systems, the gentle whir of a fan circulating the air, the rhythmic pulse of a pump moving coolant through the ship's veins. For the next 100 million miles, this is your world. Not the silent distant sphere in the viewport, but this humming, breathing, living machine. This tiny bubble of warmth and air is an island in the greatest ocean imaginable. All the noise, all the life, all the complexity you need is contained within these walls. The communication with the outside is a fragile, precious thing, a tether to what was. But the reality of what is right here. The ship is not just a vehicle. It is a self-contained cosmos, a universe in a room, and its own quiet whispers are the ones that will now keep you alive. The deep, resonant chord of the engines fades not into silence, but into a different kind of quiet. The constant thrumming vibration that has been your companion for hours, the gentle pressure against your back releases you. There is a weightlessness now that feels more profound than before, a sense of having been let go. The invisible string of gravity has been cut, and you are drifting finally and irrevocably into the deep. Earth is no longer a world that fills your window. It is a sphere of impossible blue and swirling white, a marble of breathtaking beauty, but it is now a thing apart from you. Your world has contracted. It has become the space within these walls. For the first time, you begin to truly hear the ship, not as a machine, but as a living thing. The thunder of the ascent has been replaced by a subtle symphony of survival. Listen, can you hear it? It is a low, continuous hum, the sound of 1,000 tiny processes working in perfect harmony. It is the sound of life support, the tireless breath of the vessel that cradles you. It is the sound of electricity flowing through veins of wire of air, circulating like a gentle bloodstream, through vents of water, being coaxed through filters on its journey back to purity. This is not the silence of the void. This is the vibrant, reassuring quiet of a self-contained universe, a room that holds all of existence within its metallic shell. Your attention drifts to the very air you are breathing. Take a slow, deliberate breath in, and now a long, gentle breath out. Each time you do this, you participate in an intricate, life-sustaining dance. The air in your lungs, now rich with the carbon dioxide of your own metabolism, does not simply vanish. It is drawn away silently into a network of hidden ducts. You can almost feel the gentle pull of the current near the ceiling. This air, your exhalation, becomes the raw material for a quiet alchemy. It is guided toward the ship's lungs, a series of canisters and reactors known as CO2 scrubbers. Here inside these unassuming metal boxes, a chemical reaction captures the carbon atoms, pulling them from the air, cleansing it of what is to you a waste product. But the process doesn't end there. A parallel system is at work, one that feels more organic, more miraculous. Part of your exhaled breath is channeled to another section of the ship, a place glowing with a soft green light. Here, in transparent tanks of circulating water, live colonies of algae. Chlorella vulgaris. Billions upon billions of single-celled organisms suspended in their nutrient bath, performing the same ancient magic they have performed on Earth for eons. They drink in the carbon dioxide you just exhaled, they bathe in the carefully calibrated light, and through the quiet, elegant process of photosynthesis, they release pure, life-giving oxygen back into the ship's atmosphere. You are breathing in this moment because of a microscopic forest floating in a tank a few meters away. It is a closed loop of breath, a covenant between you and the simplest of life forms, a perfect symbiosis enacted millions of miles from the world where it first evolved. The air tastes clean, slightly metallic, but with an underlying hint of something green, something alive. Now consider the water. You reach for the dispenser, and a small bulb of perfectly clear liquid detaches and floats before you. You guide it to your lips. It is cool, clean, and utterly neutral. It tastes of nothing, and therefore of everything. It is the taste of pure potential, the essence of hydration. But where did it come from? Its journey is even more remarkable than that of the air. This water is a traveler, a phoenix reborn from countless sources. It is the collected moisture from your very breath condensed on cooling plates. It is the purified sweat from your skin drawn from the air. It is the water reclaimed from washing, from hygiene, from every drop that can be saved. It travels through a maze of pipes, passing through filters of ever-increasing fineness, charcoal ion exchange resins, reverse osmosis membranes. Each stage strips away impurities, salts, minerals, microbes until only the fundamental molecule remains H2O. It is bombarded with ultraviolet light to ensure its sterility, then infused with a precise, minimal cocktail of minerals to make it palatable and healthy. The water you are drinking now may have been part of the steam from your last meal or the vapor in your last breath. It is a perfect closed cycle. Nothing is wasted. The ship, like a planet, has a finite supply of this precious resource, and so it has perfected the art of renewal. It treats every molecule with a reverence that we so often forget on our own water-rich world. To drink this water is to partake in a sacrament of engineering and ecology, a profound act of trust in the systems that keep you alive. This feeling of a living, breathing ecosystem is nowhere more apparent than in the small hydroponics bay. You drift toward it, drawn by the impossible sight of green in the metallic gray of the cosmos. Behind a transparent wall, rows of lettuce, spinach, and bright red radishes hang suspended, their roots dangling not in soil, but in a mist of nutrient-rich water. Full-spectrum LEDs mimic a miniature sun cycling through an accelerated dawn, day, and dusk. The scent that emanates from this small garden is almost shocking in its richness. It is the smell of damp earth, of fresh chlorophyll, of life pushing insistently upward. It is the smell of home. These plants are more than just a welcome addition to your diet. They are a psychological anchor, a living patch of earth in the sterile expanse of space. They are another lung for the ship, contributing their small share of oxygen. They are a task, a ritual, tending to their needs, checking their growth, harvesting their leaves. In a world governed by machines and programs, the simple biological clock of a growing plant is a deep comfort. To watch a seed sprout and unfurl its first leaves in the void is to witness an act of profound defiance. It is a testament that life is not a planetary phenomenon, but a cosmic one, ready to take root wherever a sliver of sanctuary can be found. Each crisp leaf of lettuce you eat is a small victory, a triumph of biology over the unforgiving physics of space. Beneath the hum of the air, the gurgle of the water, and the quiet glow of the garden lies an even deeper layer of activity. It is the ship's nervous system, a silent, ever-vigilant network of sensors and microprocessors. They are the unseen caretakers, the quiet guardians. A sensor in the wall measures the partial pressure of oxygen 100 times a second. Another monitors the temperature to a fraction of a degree, ready to open or close a thermal shutter. Millions of lines of code are executing in the background, cross-referencing data, making infinitesimal adjustments, ensuring that the delicate equilibrium is maintained. This constant invisible labor is what creates the illusion of a static, stable environment. But it is not static at all. It is a dynamic balance, a continuous state of becoming. The ship is constantly adjusting, correcting, and healing itself. If a micrometeoroid, no bigger than a grain of sand, were to strike the hull, sensors would detect the change in pressure and temperature, and protocols would be initiated long before any human could react. This vessel is not just a container. It is a responsive, intelligent organism. It is your partner in this journey, your armor, your womb. Its well-being is your well-being. Its continued function is your continued existence. You are utterly, completely dependent on the integrity of this complex, beautiful machine. And in this realization, a profound shift in perspective occurs. This vessel, this tiny, self-contained world, is a perfect miniature of the planet you left behind. Earth, too, is a spacecraft. It is a sphere of rock and water, wrapped in a thin, fragile membrane of atmosphere, hurtling through the same void. Its life support systems, its oceans, its forests, its atmospheric cycles are infinitely more complex, but they operate on the same principles. They scrub the air, purify the water, and maintain a delicate thermal balance. For billions of years, this planetary machine has worked in perfect harmony, creating a sanctuary for life in an otherwise hostile cosmos. From inside this room, you finally understand the fragility you could not see from the surface. You understand that the Earth systems are also a closed loop, and that our belief in its infinite capacity to absorb our waste and provide for our needs is a dangerous illusion. Here in your tiny ark, every resource is precious, every cycle is sacred. Wasting a liter of water or venting a cubic foot of air would be an act of profound self-destruction, and you realize with a clarity that is both beautiful and terrifying that the same is true back home. We are all astronauts on a much larger ship, and we have not yet learned to appreciate the elegant, life-sustaining machinery that keeps us alive. This room, this universe in a bottle, has become a lens through which to see your home with new eyes. But the lesson does not stop at the hull. The very safety and order of this internal world, the predictable hum, the recycled air, the carefully managed light, serves only to amplify the sheer scale of what lies just beyond it. Your gaze is drawn inevitably away from the life-sustaining green of the hydroponics bay and toward the deep, absolute black of the forward viewport. This ship is a marvel, a bubble of reason and life. But it is a bubble floating in an ocean of unimaginable scale and indifference. The carefully managed light within these walls is a stark contrast to the ancient untamed light that has traveled for millions of years just to reach your window, carrying stories of cosmic violence and creation. You have spent this time appreciating the universe in the room. Now it is time to face the room in the universe. It is time to look out and navigate by that ancient, unfiltered light. You drift away from the small portal, the marble of Earth receding in your memory, and move through the central corridor of the ship. The only sounds are the gentle hum of the air recyclers and the whisper-soft clicks of the guidance computers, sounds that have already become the baseline rhythm of your new existence. Ahead, the main observatory dome beckons not with light, but with a profound and absolute darkness, a darkness that seems to pull you forward. As you enter the curved chamber, The view opens up and the breath catches in your throat. This is not the sky you know. This is not the pinpricked velvet blanket seen through a veil of air and city glow. This is the universe raw and unfiltered. The sheer density of light is overwhelming. Stars are not lonely diamonds. They are a glittering powdered spill of silver and gold so numerous they merge into a haze of brilliance. And running through it all, a great magnificent tear in the fabric of night, is the Milky Way. From Earth, it is a faint ethereal cloud, a suggestion of cosmic dust. Here, it is a living river. It has textured depth. You can see the roiling clotted lanes of dark nebulae, cosmic dust clouds that are not voids of emptiness, but nurseries of creation, hiding the nascent glow of stars yet to be born. You can see the bright, fierce bulge of the galactic core, a place of such density and energy that its light, 26,000 years old, still burns with an impossible intensity. It is not a flat band across the sky. It is a three-dimensional structure, a spiral arm of our cosmic city, and you are looking at it from the inside. The light does not twinkle. Twinkling is an artifact of the atmosphere, the last shimmering breath of a photon's long journey as it strikes our world's air. Here, the starlight is steady, constant and pure. Each point of light is a sun, ancient and unwavering its message, traveling uninterrupted across the void to meet your eyes. You find a place by the viewport, the cold of the thick quartz seeping through your hand, a stark contrast to the fiery birth and death you are witnessing. This beauty, so absolute and serene, carries with it an invisible counterpoint. This seemingly tranquil ocean is alive with forces that would annihilate you in an instant. The silence is a lie. If you could hear the universe, it would be a roaring chaos of energy. Unseen particles, the shrapnel of distant supernovae, are streaming past the ship at nearly the speed of light. These cosmic rays, tiny and tireless, have traveled for millions of years from galaxies you cannot even see, and they pass through the hull and through you, a constant ghostly rain. The ship's magnetic shielding deflects the worst of it, a silent, invisible guardian against a threat you can neither see nor feel. And then there is the sun, our sun. From this vantage, it is no longer a friendly, familiar disk. It is a star, a seething ball of nuclear fusion, magnificent and terrifying. You are moving through its extended atmosphere, the solar wind a stream of charged particles that flows outwards, shaping the magnetic fields of entire planets. You watch the ship's displays which monitor the star's activity. A solar flare, a sudden violent eruption from its surface, could send a wave of radiation powerful enough to overwhelm the ship's defenses. It is a constant subtle tension, the awareness that the same star that gives life is also a source of profound danger. You are living inside a bubble, a tiny, fragile ark of human ingenuity sailing on an ocean of fire. The ship does not fight this ocean. It navigates by it. The computers are not simply following a pre-programmed line from one point to another. They are engaged in a constant, delicate dance with the cosmos itself. Celestial navigation, once the art of sailors using a sextant, and the North Star has been reborn. The ship's sensors are locked onto pulsars, the collapsed remnants of massive stars that spin hundreds of times a second, flashing beams of radiation like cosmic lighthouses. Their rhythm is more precise than any clock humans could build, providing perfect, unwavering reference points in the dizzying expanse. The primary engine of your journey now is not fuel, but gravity. The course is a complex, sweeping arc, a trajectory calculated to fall toward the sun, borrowing its immense gravitational pull to gain speed, and then using the subtle influence of Venus to break into orbit. It is a cosmic slingshot, a maneuver of immense precision. You are riding the invisible currents and eddies of spacetime, the very curvature of the universe, created by the mass of suns and worlds. The ship makes tiny, precise adjustments with its thrusters, not to power its way through space, but to gently nudge its path along these gravitational rivers. To be here is to understand that space is not empty. It is a dynamic architecture of forces, a landscape of hills and valleys shaped by mass, and you are learning to read its contours. You turn your gaze away from the path ahead and look back, searching for the familiar patterns of home. You find them, but they are changed. The constellations, those ancient human projections of heroes and animals onto the dome of the sky, are beginning to warp. Because you have traveled, you are seeing them from a new angle. Parallax, the subtle shift in an object's apparent position when viewed from different lines of sight, is no longer a textbook concept. It is a visible reality. Orion the Great Hunter is still recognizable, but his belt is no longer a perfect straight line of 3 stars. The middle star Alnilam is much farther away than the other 2, and from your new vantage point, that distance is becoming apparent. The belt now has a slight, almost imperceptible curve. The Big Dipper. The steadfast guide for northern travelers on Earth seems subtly bent, its handle twisted just so. These are not static painted figures on a celestial sphere. They are unique individual suns scattered through a vast volume of space. Their patterns an accident of your particular perspective from your particular world at your particular time. You realize with a profound clarity that every star map ever drawn by human hands was an artifact of a single point of view. For all of history, we have looked up at the same sky, but the sky is not the same from everywhere. By leaving home, you have left behind that shared universal perspective. The patterns that gave comfort and meaning that told stories of gods and guided sailors are dissolving. They are being revealed for what they are, a beautiful provincial illusion. You are seeing the stars as they truly are, a forest of lights, not a map. And in this forest, you must draw your own lines, find your own way. The awe of the star-filled river and the quiet respect for the invisible dangers give way to a deeper, more unsettling question. As you watch the familiar architecture of the night sky slowly distort, a new feeling begins to surface. It is not loneliness, nor is it fear. It is a sense of unmooring that goes deeper than just physical distance. If the external landmarks that have defined humanity's place in the universe for millennia are changing, shifting with your own movement, then what of the internal landmarks? What are the constellations of the self, the fixed points of memory, belief, and identity? Are they too just a pattern, an arrangement of thoughts and experiences that seem fixed only from a single point of view? As the ship sails silently through the sea of ancient light, another more mysterious vessel begins its journey. The consciousness that is looking out, wondering if its own stars are about to shift. Edom is a perfect void, a hemisphere of absolute black that mirrors the silent, contemplative space opening within you. Here, in the unlit heart of the vessel, the distinction between inside and outside seems to melt away. The faint, rhythmic pulse of the life support systems is no longer a sound you hear, but a beat. You feel a slow, metallic heartbeat that has synchronized with your own. The whisper of recycled air is not just a current in the room, but a ghost of a breath in your own lungs. You are not simply a passenger in a machine. You are becoming the consciousness of the machine itself. A ghost breathing in a shell of titanium and wire, moving through a cold, silent dream. Your body suspended in microgravity feels less like a solid form and more like a collection of thoughts, a nexus of awareness. The ship is your skeleton, its sensors, your nerve endings, its engines, the distant powerful muscles that propel you forward. In this profound state of isolation, the boundaries of the self begin to dissolve. Your skin no longer feels like the definitive edge of your being. Instead, your consciousness seems to seep outward, filling the corridors, flowing through the circuitry, and pressing up against the cold hull, feeling the vacuum on the other side. Who are you when your very sense of physical presence is this fluid, this untethered? Sleep, when it comes, is no longer a simple respite. It is a different kind of journey, a pilgrimage back to a world that now feels more like myth than memory. The dreams are not fragmented or chaotic. They are intensely, overwhelmingly real. You stand in a forest you knew as a child, and you can feel the damp, cool earth under your bare feet. You can smell the specific scent of pine needles and decaying leaves after a rainstorm, a scent so complex and vivid that you weep in your sleep. You feel a phantom breeze on your cheek, a caress from an atmosphere that is millions of kilometers away. These dreams are not just recollections, they are full sensory resurrections of moments you thought were lost. You sit at a crowded cafe in a city you once called home. The clatter of ceramic on saucer, the murmur of a dozen conversations in a language you understand, the rich, bitter aroma of coffee, it all plays out with crystalline clarity. You see the faces of strangers, their expressions fleeting and unimportant at the time, but now rendered with the detail of a master's portrait. You reach out to touch the warm ceramic of a cup, and for a moment you can almost feel its heat, its solid reality. But your fingers close on nothing, and the illusion shimmers. You awaken not with the jarring shock of a nightmare, but with a slow, gentle ache of dislocation. Which world is the dream, the one filled with wind and rain, and the weight of a coffee cup in your hand, or this silent, sterile, weightless reality? The memories of Earth have begun to take on the quality of folklore. They are stories you tell yourself about a person who lived in a world of blue skies and heavy gravity, a person who knew the feeling of sun on their skin and the sound of waves crashing on a shore. That person seems both intimately familiar and strangely distant, like an ancestor whose story you know by heart, but whose life you can never truly inhabit. The further the ship travels from that blue marble, the more sacred and untouchable those memories become. They are no longer simple facts of your life. They are polished relics in the museum of your mind, beautiful and remote. This internal journey forces a question, one that hangs in the silent air of the observatory, like an unspoken mantra. Who are you without the world that defined you? You were a child of a particular place, a product of a certain culture, a being shaped by gravity, weather, and the biology of a specific planet. You were defined by your relationships, your work, your place in a society humming with 7 billion other souls. All of that has been stripped away. The context is gone. The network of connections that held your identity in place has been severed one by one until only the single thread of your consciousness remains spooling out into the void. There is no panic in this realization, only a profound, unnerving clarity. It is like standing in a room where the walls have suddenly vanished, revealing an infinite space beyond. The structures that gave you shape are gone, and you are left with the raw, unfiltered essence of your own awareness. You are not your name. You are not your history. You are not your body, which feels so strange and alien in this new environment. You are the observer, the silent witness to the hum of the machine, the ghost in the dream of the past, the consciousness that looks out into the void and asks, "What am I?" The ship provides no answers. It only offers its steady rhythmic existence as a new kind of anchor. Its purpose becomes your purpose to move forward to continue the journey. Its health is your health. Its integrity is your sanity. You find yourself checking the ship's diagnostic systems, not as a chore, but as a form of self-examination. You monitor the atmospheric pressure as you would your own breath. You track the power levels as you would your own energy. The line between human and instrument, between organism and mechanism, has blurred into a single symbiotic system hurtling through the dark. You are a mind carried in a body, carried in a ship. A trinity bound for a world of fire and cloud. The experience is not one of losing yourself, but of discovering a self that is far larger and more fundamental than you ever imagined. It is a self that can exist without the constant validation of a familiar world, a self that can find its rhythm in the hum of a machine, a self that can hold a universe of memory within it and yet not be defined by it. It is a stripping away of all that is non-essential, a distillation of being down to its purest form, awareness itself. You float in the center of the dome, no longer seeing the darkness as an absence of light, but as a canvas of pure potential. The inward journey has reached its limit for now. The questions have been asked, and the silence has offered its own kind of answer. You are the journey itself. Your identity is not a fixed point, but a process, a trajectory. With this quiet acceptance, your focus begins to shift. You have looked back at the ghost of Earth. You have looked inward at the ghost in the machine. Now there is only one direction left. You turn your attention forward toward the section of the void where your destination lies. You stare into the absolute black, the field of ancient, indifferent starlight. For days, for weeks, there has been nothing to distinguish that patch of sky from any other. But now, as you watch your eyes, fully adapted to the profound dark, you notice something. It is not a flash, nor a twinkle. It is a presence, a single point of light that does not shimmer. It shines with a serene, steady, and unwavering luminescence, a pinprick of pure, constant silver. It is different from the stars around it. It feels closer. It feels like a promise. And as you watch, you feel a subtle internal shift, a pulling toward that light, a sense of a new chapter beginning not just in the journey of the ship, but in the journey of the self. The ghost in the machine has found a new star to navigate by. The darkness of the dome had been a comfort, a womb of silent stars where the universe felt like an extension of your own quiet mind. But something has changed. A new light, insistent and steady, now calls you from that inner space. It began days ago as a subtle shift in the ambient glow filtering through the corridors, a warmth that was not generated by the ship's systems. You emerge from your contemplation, drawn toward the main observatory viewport, and find the source. It hangs there against the velvet black, no longer the brilliant distant star it has been for so long. It is now a disk, a perfect luminous pearl, small but undeniably round. This is the moment the abstract becomes real. For months, Venus was a destination, a set of coordinates, a name on a mission chart. It was the brightest diamond in Earth's night sky, a beacon of myth and promise. But to see it like this, to have its planetary nature confirmed not by data, but by your own eyes through the clarifying lens of the viewport, is a fundamental shift in perception. It is no longer a point of light. It is a place, a sphere catching the sun's fire and holding it in a soft, steady glow. You watch it for hours, this tiny, immaculate circle. Its edges are impossibly crisp against the void, a testament to the airless space between you. There are no continents, no oceans, no swirls of familiar blue or white. It is a solid, uniform cream color, a world painted in a single subtle shade. Day by day, the pearl grows. What was a coin is now a plate, and soon it will fill the entire window. With each passing hour, the ship's telescope reveals what the naked eye cannot. You command the magnification to increase, pushing the limits of the optical instruments, and the smooth, featureless surface begins to resolve into something more complex. It is not a solid surface at all, but a sea of clouds, a global, unbroken blanket of pale yellow and ivory swirling in vast, slow-moving patterns. You can see the faint, ghostly bands that wrap around the planet, subtle stripes where the upper atmosphere moves at different speeds. The clouds are a study in ethereal beauty. They seem soft, gentle, like the highest, most delicate cirrus clouds on a perfect summer day back on Earth. The light that reflects from them is even and diffuse, giving the entire world a serene, otherworldly luminescence. It is a planet that seems to be at peace with itself, wrapped in a permanent tranquil haze. And yet you know what this beautiful veil conceals. This is the great paradox of Venus, a lesson in the deceptive nature of appearances. This serene pearly globe is a vision of hell. The soft buttery clouds are not made of water vapor, but of corrosive sulfuric acid. They are the upper layer of an atmosphere, so thick, so dense, that it crushes anything that enters it with the pressure of the deepest ocean. Below this gentle-looking canopy, the temperature is hot enough to melt lead. The air itself is a toxic cocktail of carbon dioxide, and the surface is a volcanic wasteland, scoured by winds and shrouded in a perpetual gloomy twilight. To look upon Venus is to witness a magnificent lie. It is to see a world that presents a face of pure tranquility while hiding a nature of unimaginable violence. The calm, silent beauty hanging in your viewport is a mask, and the knowledge of what lies beneath it creates a profound and unsettling tension. The ship continues its silent fall toward this celestial siren, and you feel a strange mixture of awe and trepidation. You are drawn to its beauty, mesmerized by the sheer scale of the atmospheric engine before you, but you are also deeply humbled by its power. It is a reminder that the universe does not exist to be comfortable or safe for us. It simply is in all its terrible and wondrous glory. Venus makes no apologies for its nature. It simply hangs in space, a perfect sphere of golden light, indifferent to your approach, indifferent to the meaning you try to impose upon it. The ship, however, is not indifferent. Its quiet is now punctuated by new sounds, new feelings. The gentle, almost imperceptible hum of the guidance systems grows more insistent. You feel a slight vibration through the floor plates, a deep thrum that lasts for only a few seconds and then fades. It is the sound of a course correction. The navigational thrusters firing in precise, calculated bursts are gently nudging your trajectory. These are the final delicate adjustments, the last whispers of guidance before the planet's own influence becomes the dominant force. Each burst is a conversation between the ship's mind and the laws of physics. The onboard computers are constantly measuring your velocity, your distance, your angle of approach. They are cross-referencing this data with the known mass of Venus, calculating the subtle, ever-increasing pull of its gravity. The mission is no longer about crossing the vast emptiness between worlds. It is now about executing a perfect arrival. A few meters per second too fast, and you will skim past the planet, flung back out into the solar system. A fraction too slow, and your orbit will be too low, a dangerous decaying spiral into the crushing atmosphere. The margin for error is vanishingly small. The growing light of Venus is no longer just a visual spectacle. It is a source of navigational data, a gravitational anchor that the ship is now orienting itself around. It fills the viewport completely, now a wall of pale, luminous cloud. You can no longer see its edges. You are too close. The feeling of moving toward a destination is gone, replaced by the sense of arriving within its sphere of influence. The black of space is now just a frame around this immense glowing world. The vibrations come more frequently now. A faint hiss from the port side, a low shudder from the stern. The ship is aligning itself, turning its main engine to face the direction of travel, preparing for the most critical burn of the entire journey. Soon it will fire that engine, not to speed up, but to slow down, to shed the incredible velocity it has carried all the way from Earth. It must slow down just enough for the planet's gravity to catch it, to pull it into a stable, predictable path. You can feel it now, even without the instruments to confirm it. A new sensation, a persistent, one-sided pull. It is not the artificial gravity of the rotating habitats, but something more fundamental, more real. It is the silent, invisible hand of Venus reaching out across the vacuum of space to take hold of you. The journey of millions of kilometers, the long coast through the void, is ending. The ship is no longer just an observer. It is becoming a part of this system, preparing to surrender its straight-line freedom for the curved, repeating path of an orbit. The final thruster fires a short, sharp burst that nudges the ship into its final approach attitude. A new silence descends, heavier than before. Everything is ready. The next step is not a push, but a fall, a controlled, deliberate surrender into the gravitational embrace of the world ahead. The darkness of the dome had been a comfort, a womb of silent stars, where the universe felt like an extension of your own quiet mind. But something has changed. A new light, insistent and steady, now calls you from that inner space. It began days ago as a subtle shift in the ambient glow filtering through the corridors, a warmth that was not generated by the ship's systems. You emerge from your contemplation, drawn toward the main observatory viewport, and find the source. It hangs there against the velvet of infinity, no longer a star, no longer a jewel, but a world. A vast pearlescent sphere that eclipses the constellations behind it. Venus. For so long, it was a destination, a concept, a point of light on a navigation chart. Now it is a presence, a gravitational anchor that has been gently inexorably reeling you in across millions of kilometers of cold vacuum. The ship, once a master of its own trajectory, is now a guest arriving at a colossal silent court. The long fall is nearly over. What comes next is not an arrival in the way one arrives at a shore, but a transformation. A moment of controlled surrender where the ship will cease to be a vessel passing by and will instead become a part of this place, a moon in its own right. The ship's internal voice, a calm and measured tone that has been your companion on this voyage, announces the sequence, not with alarm, but with the simple statement of a physical truth. Orbital insertion commencing. There is no fanfare, only a subtle change in the ship's orientation. A slow, deliberate turn like a great bird adjusting its wings for a long dive. You feel the imperceptible shift as the craft aligns itself, presenting its armored, heat-shielded underbelly to the planet below. This is an act of trust. Trust in physics, in engineering, in the careful calculations that have brought you to this precise window in space and time. You are not fighting the planet's gravity. You are using it. You are borrowing its immense power to shed the velocity that carried you across the solar system. The plan is one of exquisite elegance to brush against the very edge of the atmosphere, to use its friction as a brake, a process called aerobraking, a fiery, delicate kiss with the sky of another world. The first contact is impossibly gentle. It is not a collision, not a shudder, but a whisper. A faint, almost musical hum begins to resonate through the hull. It is the sound of solitary atoms and molecules of the uppermost atmosphere, the exosphere, beginning to touch the ship's skin. For months, your world has been the perfect silence of the void. Now there is sound. It is the voice of Venus speaking to the ship in the language of friction. Through the viewport, the blackness of space begins to thin. It is as if a drop of milk has been stirred into ink. A faint ethereal glow forms a halo around the planet's edge, a luminescence that does not come from the sun, but from the interaction of the ship and the sky. This is the first blush of entry. The air, though thinner than any vacuum achievable on Earth, is dense enough now to resist. The ship begins to slow. You can feel it not as a sudden jolt, but as a gradual, insistent pressure, a soft weight settling upon you, the first hint of an artificial gravity born from deceleration. The hum deepens. It grows from a whisper to a murmur, then to a low, resonant roar that seems to emanate from the very bones of the ship. The vibration is no longer a subtle tremor. It is a living thrum that you feel in your chest, in the soles of your feet. The ship is alive, singing its song of passage. Outside, the pale glow ignites. It blossoms from a soft pink to a vibrant electric violet, then to a furious liquid gold. Plasma brighter than 1,000 sunsets sheathes the vessel. You are flying through a self-made fire, a cocoon of light and heat. The observatory's armored viewport darkens, automatically filtering the impossible glare, but still the cabin is bathed in a warm, dancing orange light. Shadows flicker and stretch across the bulkheads. You are inside a falling star. The instruments on the displays confirm what your senses are screaming. Hull temperature is climbing, a cascade of numbers rising through hundreds, then thousands of degrees. Altitude is bleeding away, meter by precious meter. Velocity is dropping, the colossal speed of interplanetary travel being scrubbed away by the thin, tenacious grip of the Cytherean atmosphere. This is the moment of greatest danger and of greatest beauty. The ship is a meteor, but one with a mind. Tiny thrusters fire in precise, percussive bursts, puffs of sound you can just barely hear over the roar as the ship's guidance system makes infinitesimal adjustments to the angle of attack. Too steep, and you will burn. Too shallow, and you will skip off the atmosphere like a stone off water, flung back out into the void. The corridor of safety is impossibly narrow, a needle's eye in the sky. Yet there is no sense of panic. There is only a profound, focused awe. You are a silent witness to a cosmic ballet. The ship groans not in protest, but in effort, the sound of a well-made thing performing the task for which it was conceived. It is a dialogue between the machine and the planet, a conversation written in fire and force. The roar of the plasma outside is the planet's argument, powerful and overwhelming. The steady thrum of the ship's structure and the quiet pops of its thrusters are the calm, measured reply. And you, suspended between the two, are the listener. The deceleration presses you more firmly into your seat. It is a gentle, heavy hand, a reminder of the immense energies at play. The light outside shifts again from gold to a blinding, incandescent white. For a long moment, you are flying through the heart of a star. You can see nothing of Venus itself, only this veil of fire. This is the peak, the climax of the embrace. The ship has given itself over to the planet's atmosphere, and in this act of surrender, it is finding its salvation. Then, just as gradually as it began, the fire begins to recede. The incandescent white softens back to gold, then to a soft, rosy orange. The roar subsides its fury, spent fading back into a deep hum. The vibration lessens the ship, ceasing its resonant song. You feel the pressure lift, the gentle gravity of deceleration vanishing as you rise out of the thicker atmospheric layers. The ship has made its pass. It has skimmed the sky, paid its tithe of speed, and is now arcing back up toward the edge of space, wounded and triumphant. You emerge from the fire into a sudden, shocking silence. The hum is gone. The light is gone. There is only the deep, familiar quiet of the void and the steady, soft glow of the ship's internal lighting. For a moment, it feels as if nothing has happened, as if it were all a dream of light and sound. But the ship is changed. It is moving slower, much slower. It is no longer on a trajectory that will carry it away. It has been caught. The ship's internal voice speaks again, its tone unchanged. Main engine burn for orbital circularization. A new feeling begins, distinct from the atmospheric roar. A deep, powerful thrum from the stern of the vessel. This is not the sound of friction, but of controlled power. The main engine ignites for its final, crucial performance. This is the last correction. The aero-braking pass bent your trajectory from a straight line into a long elliptical arc. This burn will trim that arc, pushing against your momentum at the highest point of your orbit, slowing you just enough to transform the ellipse into a near-perfect circle. The burn is short, lasting only a few minutes, but in that time, the final transformation is completed. The engine cuts out, and then there is a new kind of silence. A silence not of emptiness, but of equilibrium. You are no longer falling toward Venus. You are now perpetually falling around it. You are in orbit. The feeling is one of profound peace, of an immense journey, reaching its first true destination. The ship is no longer a visitor, but a resident. Gravity is no longer an obstacle, but a tether, a gentle and unbreakable bond that holds you in a slow, silent, endless dance. You look out the viewport once more. The planet below fills the entire frame. It is a sea of cloud, a swirling marbled canvas of white cream and subtle gold, a perfect featureless sphere that hides its secrets beneath a blanket of impenetrable acid mist. The fiery passage is over. The embrace is complete. You are here. The eye sees only this perfect pearlescent surface, a beautiful and frustrating mystery. But the ship has other ways of seeing, other senses, designed to translate the unseen into the known. The long fall is over, and now the long look begins. It is time to open those other eyes to send pulses of energy through the clouds that the human eye cannot pierce, and to finally carefully begin to lift the veil. The light from Venus is not a twinkle, but a dense, unwavering stare. It hangs in the viewport, a perfect pearl of cloud, magnificent and maddeningly opaque. For weeks we have orbited this world, studying the endless swirling tapestry of sulfuric acid that serves as its face. We have watched the super-rotating atmosphere, a river of gas moving 60 times faster than the planet itself, creating chevron patterns and vast churning vortices at the poles. We have seen the faint ghostly glow of ashen light on the night side, a hint of the ferocious heat bleeding out from below. But we have not seen the world itself. Not one glimpse of the ground. To the human eye, Venus keeps its secrets perfectly. But we did not come all this way to rely on the human eye alone. Here, in the hushed quiet of the Orbital Sciences module, the real work begins. The ship itself becomes an instrument of perception. The air is still filled only with the gentle hum of cooling systems and the soft rhythmic clicks of data relays. Before you, a vast dark screen dominates the bulkhead, an empty canvas, waiting for a world to be painted upon it. We are about to pierce the veil, not with light, but with radio waves. The technique is one of sublime elegance, synthetic aperture radar. We will not look at Venus, we will listen to its shape. The process starts with a command, a whisper of code sent from your console. A low thrum vibrates through the deck plates as the ship's main radar array reorients itself, aiming its focused energy at the shrouded planet below. It sends out a pulse, a sharp, clean chirp of radio waves, slicing down through the hundreds of kilometers of cloud and haze. The signal travels unimpeded by the acidic fog striking the hidden surface, and then it bounces back. The echo that returns is not a simple sound. It is a complex waveform, rich with information. The time it takes to return tells us the altitude of the terrain. The strength of the echo tells us its texture. Smooth surfaces reflect the signal away, like a mirror appearing dark, while rough, jagged landscapes scatter the signal back, appearing bright. As our ship moves in its smooth, inexorable orbit, it sends pulse after pulse, collecting thousands of these faint echoes from slightly different angles. This is the magic of the synthetic aperture. By combining all these perspectives, the ship's computer can simulate a single gigantic radar dish kilometers wide with the power to resolve details as small as a city block from orbit. The screen flickers to life. A single, razor-thin line of data appears at the top, a monochrome slice of a world no one has ever seen. Another follows, and another. It is like watching the world's slowest photograph develop pixel by pixel, line by line. The process is patient, methodical, a form of technological meditation. With each orbital pass, a new stripe of the planet is mapped and stitched onto the growing mosaic. Hours turn into days. The blank screen slowly, miraculously fills with a ghost. At first, the image is dominated by darkness. Vast, featureless plains that stretch for thousands of kilometers. These are the lowlands of Venus, the Planitia. They appear dark to the radar because they are uncannily smooth, great frozen seas of basaltic lava that flooded the planet eons ago. They are flatter than anything on Earth, a testament to a time when molten rock flowed like water, burying all that came before. You trace their mythic names on the map as they are labeled by the system. Guinevere Planitia near the equator, Atalanta Planitia in the northern highlands. They are oceans of stone, their shores defined by the wrinkled ridges and tectonic fractures that crisscross the globe. Then from these dark plains, the mountains begin to rise. They are not the sharp, jagged peaks of terrestrial mountains born of crashing tectonic plates. The great volcanoes of Venus are different. The system highlights a prominent one, labeling it Sif Mons. It is a shield volcano, unimaginably broad and gently sloped, built up over millennia by layer upon layer of fluid lava flows. It does not pierce the sky so much as it swells the ground, a vast sleeping blister on the planet's skin. And as the map resolves with ever greater clarity, the truly alien features emerge. Scattered across the plains are clusters of strange circular structures that the geologists who first saw them in earlier probe data could only call pancake domes. They are precisely what their name implies, wide, flat-topped, steep-sided domes of viscous lava, as if a thick, sticky batter had been poured onto the surface and allowed to spread until it cooled. They speak of a different kind of magma, a different kind of pressure, a different set of rules for how a world is built. Even more bizarre are the coronae swash. The display highlights one in bright cyan, tracing its fractured circular boundary. It looks like a collapsed crown, a network of concentric and radial faults surrounding a central plateau. These are features unique to Venus, thought to be the surface expression of hot plumes of molten rock rising from the mantle. The plume pushes the crust up, creating a dome. Then, as the plume cools and recedes, the dome sags in the center, leaving behind this immense fractured ring, a scar left by a blister on the planet's soul. There are no plate tectonics here, not like on Earth. Venus loses its internal heat through these great plumes and volcanic outpourings. Its crust is a single continuous shell that cracks and wrinkles and swells, but does not break into drifting pieces. You pull the perspective back, viewing the entire hemisphere that has now been mapped. The data is beautiful, a complex monochrome tapestry of a hidden world. But it is also telling a story, a single planetary scale story of fire and catastrophe. The computer runs a crater counting algorithm, its progress bar filling silently. The result is stark. There are craters, yes, but far, far fewer than there should be for a planet this old. The moon Mars, Mercury. Their faces are pockmarked with the billions of years of cosmic bombardment. Venus is smooth. Its face is young. The conclusion is as awe-inspiring as it is terrifying. At some point in its relatively recent geological past, perhaps 500 million years ago, Venus resurfaced itself. It wasn't a gradual process. The evidence points to a global catastrophic event, a period of volcanism so intense and widespread that it covered virtually the entire planet in kilometers of fresh lava, burying the ancient terrain, erasing the countless craters, and wiping the historical slate clean. The world we are looking at is not the original Venus. It is a new world born in a planet-wide flood of fire. And in that cataclysm may lie the answer to the planet's other great mystery: The runaway greenhouse effect. How much carbon dioxide, how much sulfur was pumped into the atmosphere during that global volcanic spasm? Was that the event that pushed the climate past its tipping point? Did the very process that gave Venus its new skin also poison its sky forever? The radar map is more than a geographic survey. It is the scene of an ancient crime, and the planet itself is both the victim and the culprit. The clues are all here, written in the language of cooled lava and tectonic stress. We have pierced the veil. We have a map of the ghost. We see the shapes of the mountains and the plains. We have a story of its fiery rebirth. But a map, however detailed, is a silent witness. The radar gives us form, but not substance. It tells us of height and texture, but not of mineral composition, of temperature, of pressure. It shows us the aftermath, but it cannot show us the reality of the surface now. To know that to truly understand the world beneath the clouds, we cannot remain here in the sterile safety of orbit, listening to faint echoes. We must go down. You turn your attention to a smaller display where a new schematic is illuminated. It is a descent probe, stout and conical, engineered to withstand pressures that would crush a submarine and temperatures that would melt lead. For all our orbital prowess, the final truth requires a sacrifice. A piece of our mission, a vessel of our curiosity, must leave the sanctuary of the ship. It must fall. Looking back at the main screen at the magnificent, silent, and deeply alien world we have just unveiled, you give the final authorization. The command is sent. A quiet confirmation tone echoes in the module. Far below, a small object detaches from the main ship, its burnished shell gleaming for a moment against the brilliant white clouds before it begins its long, lonely descent into the storm. The command is given. A silent, agreed-upon farewell. From the serene orbit where we have watched and waited, you are released. A gentle spring pushes you away, and for a moment you are a companion spacecraft drifting in the blackness, your silver and gold insulation glinting in the harsh, unfiltered sunlight. We watch you shrink, a perfect man-made jewel cast into the void. There is no sound, only the severing of a connection, the beginning of a final solitary purpose. You are no longer an extension of the orbiter. You are your own being, now an arrow aimed at the heart of the enigma below. You fall. For hours you coast through the vacuum, a silent, tumbling instrument package. Venus swells beneath you, no longer a distant pearl, but a world, a vast and totalizing presence. The intricate chevron clouds, which from orbit looked like delicate brushstrokes, now resolve into a chaotic, churning ocean of gas. You are aimed not at a continent or an ocean, for Venus has none we can see, but at a coordinate, a point in a featureless canvas where you will begin to sing your one and only song. Your internal clock is the only measure of reality, ticking down the seconds to the most violent awakening imaginable. Then it begins, not with a sound, but with a shudder, a faint vibration, a whisper of friction against your heat shield. It is the barest touch of the exosphere, the planet's outermost breath, a layer of gas so thin it is almost indistinguishable from the vacuum you just left. But it is enough. It is the first greeting from the world you were born to meet. The vibration grows, a low hum that resonates through your very frame. You are no longer just falling. You are flying, screaming through the upper atmosphere at more than 25,000 miles per hour. The whisper of atmosphere becomes a roar. The friction ignites the air around you, and you are wrapped in a cocoon of incandescent plasma, a man-made meteor burning brighter than the planet itself. Your heat shield, a thick dish of carbon composite, bears the brunt of this assault. It glows cherry red, then yellow, then a blinding white, reaching temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. Outside this shield, the universe is a maelstrom of fire and force. Inside, your instruments are protected, cradled in the calm at the eye of the storm. You are a thought, a purpose encased in a shield of resilience, plunging through a dragon's breath. The deceleration is immense, a crushing weight that presses on every circuit and every weld. You are slowing bleeding off impossible velocity by turning the sky itself into a break. For minutes that stretch into an eternity, you endure this inferno. The G-forces would turn a human to paste, but you are built of sterner things. Your gyroscopes fight to keep you oriented, your shield facing forward, your precious cargo safe. The plasma sheath around you is so dense it creates a communications blackout. You are utterly alone, shouting into a storm that absorbs your voice. All we can do in orbit is wait, listening for a signal that may never come, trusting in the physics and the engineering that brought you to this moment. Then, as suddenly as it began, the fire subsides. You have slowed enough. You are through the worst of the entry. At an altitude of some 70 kilometers, where the pressure is still less than Earth's at sea level, a series of small explosive bolts fire. The scorched incandescent heat shield is jettisoned, falling away beneath you like a shed chrysalis. A moment later, a mortar fires and your drogue parachute blossoms into the thin carbon dioxide air. You lurch, swinging beneath the canopy, your terrifying fall now transformed into a controlled, almost graceful descent. And for the first time, you open your eyes. Your sensors, your spectrometers, your cameras all come to life. The communications blackout is over, and you begin to speak. A stream of data, a torrent of numbers and readings, flows from you across the void to the orbiter, and from there to Earth. It is the beginning of your great story. You are drifting now, suspended in the great yellow-gray sea of Venus's upper atmosphere. The view is not of a sky, but of an endless, featureless fog. You are inside the clouds, and these are not clouds of water. Your atmospheric samplers taste the air and find it thick with carbon dioxide, laced with nitrogen, and veiled in droplets of pure sulfuric acid. It is an air that would dissolve metal and flesh with equal indifference. The acid mists swirl around your camera lenses, a corrosive fog that would blind any unprotected eye. As you descend, the light begins to change. Above the sun is a diffuse, featureless glare, its light scattered by the thick cloud layers. The world is bathed in a bright, sulphurous yellow, a jaundiced daylight. There are no shadows, no direction, only an oppressive, sourceless illumination. You pass through the first cloud deck, a thick layer of acid haze. Then, a region of relative clarity, a strange, empty space between the layers. And then, you plunge into the second, thicker deck. Here the light dims and reddens. The yellow glow shifts to a deep, bruised orange. The pressure builds relentlessly. Your sensors register the change, translating it into numbers that on Earth are almost incomprehensible. At 50 kilometers high, the pressure is already equal to one Earth atmosphere. You are still dozens of kilometers from the surface, yet you are already experiencing the weight of a full sky. The temperature, which was frigid in the upper atmosphere, is now climbing rapidly. It passes the boiling point of water. You are descending into a planetary-scale pressure cooker. Your main parachute is released, its work done. A smaller, more robust chute deploys designed to withstand the denser, hotter air below. Your descent slows further, giving your instruments more time to drink in this alien environment. The winds here are ferocious, pushing you sideways at hundreds of miles per hour. You are a leaf in a hurricane, a mote of dust in a vast planetary engine of heat and motion. But you are a very observant mote of dust. You measure the wind speed, the chemical composition of the gases, the density of the air. Every nanosecond of your existence is now a frantic act of observation and transmission. The world outside grows darker. The orange light deepens to a sullen, angry red. You are below the final cloud deck now, in the clear, but incredibly dense air of the lower atmosphere. The view is of a vast, empty expanse, a murky, red-lit ocean of gas that extends to a surface you still cannot see. The light itself grows heavy, as if it has to struggle to move through the thick carbon dioxide. It is like being at the bottom of a deep, fiery sea. The pressure is now a physical force that you can feel in your very structure. It is 50 times the pressure of Earth's surface, 90 times. The aluminum and titanium of your shell groans under the strain. This is a pressure that could crush a submarine like a tin can, a pressure that exists in the deepest trenches of Earth's oceans. But here, it is the pressure of the air. It is the weight of an entire world's breath bearing down on you. The heat is just as relentless. 200 degrees Celsius, 300, 400. It passes the melting point of lead, then zinc. Your internal cooling systems are fighting a losing battle, pumping heat away from your delicate electronics, trying to buy you just a few more minutes of life. You are an ice cube dropped into a furnace. Your survival is not a question of if, but of for how long. Your brief, glorious, incandescent life is measured now in minutes, perhaps even seconds. Through the hazy red gloom, a shadow begins to resolve below. The ground, the surface of Venus, hidden from human eyes for all of history, is finally revealing itself to you. Your radar altimeter pings the surface, the signal returning faster and faster. 5 kilometers. 2, 1. The landscape is a dim, hellish panorama, lit by the dull, crimson glow of the sky. Flat, cracked plains of volcanic rock stretch to a hazy horizon. Everything is tinted red, a world painted in shades of fire. The final moments are a blur of data. Temperature 462 degrees Celsius, pressure 92 Earth atmospheres. Wind speed a mere whisper now close to the ground. The air is as thick as water. The finality of your journey is upon you. You were not built to last here. You were built to arrive, to see, to report, and then to be consumed. You were a message in a bottle thrown into an ocean of fire, and your one task is to be read before the bottle melts. The ground rushes up. The parachute is released seconds before impact to prevent it from dragging you across the tormented landscape. You fall the last few meters, a hard final drop. The impact is a jarring shock, a confirmation of arrival. You are here. You are on the surface of Venus. Your systems, screaming under the assault of heat and pressure, perform their final heroic task. And in the final seconds before the inevitable silence, your camera, protected by its quartz window, takes in the scene. You begin to speak, to send back the echo from the furnace. You are no longer an extension of us, but a messenger falling toward the light. For an hour you descend through the great layered ocean of the Venusian sky. In the control systems of the orbiter, we wait. There is nothing to do now but listen for an echo that may never come. Time itself seems to stretch and thin, each second measured against the kilometers of your descent. You are falling through clouds of sulfuric acid, a mist that would dissolve metal and flesh with equal indifference. The outer shell of your aeroshell glows, a man-made meteor streaking through an atmosphere 100 times thicker than Earth's. You are a thought wrapped in titanium and gold, sent to touch a surface we can only dream of. We track your velocity, your altitude, your orientation. The numbers scroll by a silent, disciplined language of physics. They tell a story of immense forces of a world actively resisting your intrusion. The air is not air. It is a fluid dense and crushing. Parachutes deploy not to gently lower you, but to fight against a sky that holds you up like water. You are a stone sinking in an impossibly deep sea. The heat shield, having performed its sacrificial duty, is jettisoned, falling away into the sulphurous haze below. More parachutes, more braking, until the final moments when you must trust your own instruments to see through the gloom and find a place to stand. The final 1,000 meters are a controlled fall. We hold a collective silent breath. The radio altimeter screams data back to us, a thin thread of radio waves piercing the dense clouds, traveling across millions of kilometers of empty space to reach the orbiting receiver, our ear to the ground. 500 meters. The atmosphere is so thick that light itself struggles to penetrate, and the world below is a murky, indistinct canvas of orange and gray. 100 meters. The final braking systems fire a brief, violent assertion against the planet's immense gravity and pressure. 50 meters. 10. And then, a subtle shift in the telemetry. The acceleration sensors, which had been charting your fall, register a sudden definitive stop. A spike, then silence. The numbers for vertical velocity drop to 0. For a long suspended moment, there is nothing else. The signal remains a steady carrier wave, a faint hum across the cosmos, but it carries no new information. Has it failed? Was the landing too hard? Did a jagged rock pierce its hull? In the silent hum of the orbiter, we wait for a heartbeat that is not our own. Then it comes, not as a shout, but as a whisper. A new data packet begins to stream, slow, deliberate each bit, a treasure beyond worth. First, the environmental readings. The temperature, 462 degrees Celsius. Hot enough to melt lead to turn water into vapor in an instant. The pressure, 92 Earth atmospheres. The equivalent of being a kilometer deep in one of our own oceans. These are not just numbers. They are the voice of the world itself, a description of the furnace you now inhabit. You are alive. You are transmitting. You are standing on the surface of Venus. The first data is a confirmation of survival. The next is a gift. The camera's protective lens cap is released. A pyrotechnic charge fires a tiny defiant pop in the crushing silence. The lens, made of specially engineered crystal, begins its work. Line by line, pixel by pixel, an image begins to build on our monitors. It is stitched together from a slow scan, the camera panning across the alien vista. The process is agonizingly slow, each sliver of the picture a victory against the dying clock. Your systems are already overheating. Your power is already draining. Your death has already begun. But before it ends, you show us. You show us everything. The image resolves. It is a panorama of profound desolation, yet it is beautiful in its stark, brutal honesty. The ground directly beneath you is a field of flat, fractured rock plates, like shattered slate or cooled lava. The edges are sharp, uneroded by liquid water, but softened and rounded by the incredible heat and chemical weathering of the atmosphere. The rocks are dark, basaltic, the ancient volcanic blood of the planet. They stretch out to a horizon that is strangely close-bent and distorted by the dense air, making the world feel small, enclosed, claustrophobic. There are no mountains in the distance, no familiar canyons or valleys, only this endless cracked plain. The color of the light is the most alien thing of all. It is a dim, oppressive ochre, a deep, hazy orange, as if we are seeing the world through a sheet of amber. This is the color of sunlight that has fought its way through the thick acidic clouds. There are no shadows, only a diffuse omnidirectional glow that softens every edge and robs the landscape of contrast. It is a world without a sun in the sky, only an oppressive, luminous ceiling. You send us this one perfect picture, this postcard from the abyss, and in it we see a part of you, a landing foot solid and metallic, resting on the Venusian soil. The sight is jarring a piece of human artifice against a backdrop of primordial geology. It is proof we were here. For a moment, a human thought, a human creation, rested upon this infernal ground. Then comes another stream of data, this one from the microphone. We cannot hear it directly, but the data is translated into sound. It is not the sound of wind as we know it. The air is too thick to howl. It moves in slow, massive currents. What we hear is a low, persistent rumble, the deep, guttural vibration of the planet itself. Perhaps it is the sound of distant Venus quakes, the planet's crust groaning under unimaginable stress. Or perhaps it is just the sound of the thick atmosphere, a constant low-frequency hiss, the planet's own breath against your metal skin. It is the sound of pressure, the sound of heat. It is the sound of a world that is not meant for life as we understand it. You were designed to last for an hour, a grand, optimistic dream. The minutes tick by. 12 minutes. The internal temperature warnings begin to flash. The sensitive electronics, shielded as they are beginning to cook. 15 minutes. The camera attempts another panorama, but the image is distorted, streaked with digital noise as circuits begin to fail. The sounds from the microphone become erratic, punctuated by static. 22 minutes. A cascade of failures begins. The atmospheric sensors are the first to go silent, overwhelmed. The drill meant to sample the rock seizes up, its motor burned out. You are dying and you are telling us the story of your death, sensor by sensor. It is a calm, orderly report from the front line of oblivion. Your final moments are not a frantic explosion, but a quiet, methodical surrender to the laws of thermodynamics. The heat is not an attacker. It is simply the state of being on Venus. It flows into you seeking equilibrium, and in doing so, it unmakes you. At 58 minutes, the main transmitter begins to fluctuate. The strong, steady signal we have been clinging to wavers, fades, and returns each time a little weaker. We are losing your voice. The stream of data becomes corrupted, a garble of meaningless numbers. And then the carrier wave, the very hum of your existence, vanishes. There is only static. The silence that follows is heavier than any sound. It is a silence filled with the weight of 40 million miles, filled with the knowledge of what that static means. You are gone, consumed by the furnace. Your atoms are now part of Venus. Your brief shining moment of consciousness has been extinguished, absorbed back into the crushing, incandescent whole. We stare at the final complete image you sent, that one perfect panorama. It is now a holy relic, a single photograph that cost more in treasure ingenuity and hope than any other in history. We look at the small landing pad, our own footprint on that hostile shore, and we feel an impossible mixture of triumph and grief. You did what you were built to do. You carried our curiosity to the surface of another world, and for 58 glorious minutes, you let us see through your eyes and hear through your ears. That single image is now all that is left. A quiet, still scene of cracked rock and an orange sky. It is a landscape from a forgotten age, a vision of a world that might have been, or a world that could yet be. It looks in some strange way familiar. The volcanic rock could be from Iceland or Hawaii. But the sky, the pressure, the heat that is the signature of a paradise lost. We stare at that alien ground, so similar to our own, yet so catastrophically different, and we cannot help but see a reflection. In your final echo from the furnace, you did not just show us another planet. You held up a mirror. The echo we waited for has come and gone. It was not a sound, but a stream of light and data, a final fleeting whisper from the messenger we sent into the furnace. For 73 minutes the probe spoke to us. It told stories of pressure that would crush a submarine, of heat that could melt lead of a sky, not of water, but of acid. It painted a portrait of the surface with numbers and spectral lines, a landscape of volcanic rock, ancient and black, baked under a sky, the color of butterscotch, forever trapped beneath a blanket of poison. And then, as we knew it must, the whisper ceased. The messenger became one with the world it was sent to understand, its atoms dissolving into the immense, suffocating weight of the Venusian air. We are alone again in silent orbit above the shrouded world. The mission, in a technical sense, is complete. The data is secure, stored in shielded memory banks, a treasure trove of grim knowledge. But the true purpose of this journey is only now beginning to reveal itself. It was never just about measurement, about charting a foreign geology or cataloging atmospheric gases. It was about standing before a mirror. From this vantage, Venus is still deceptively beautiful. A perfect pearlescent sphere, wrapped in elegant swirling chevrons of cloud. It catches the sunlight with a brilliance unmatched by any other planet, a beacon in the morning and evening skies of home. It looks serene, peaceful, eternal. But we know now, with the chilling certainty of data, what lies beneath that veil. We have listened to the planet's true voice. It is the sound of a world that boiled its oceans away. It is the silence of a world where life, if it ever began, was scoured from existence. Venus is Earth's sister, formed from the same spinning disk of primordial dust, born in the same celestial neighborhood, and made of nearly the same stuff. It is almost our twin in size and mass. For eons, astronomers and poets alike imagined it as a lush paradise, a jungle world teeming with exotic life beneath its mysterious clouds. A second Eden. But the kinship is far more terrifying than that. Venus is not a paradise lost. It is a paradise that never was, and a portrait of a paradise that could be lost. It is a cautionary tale written in the language of planetary science. The story is of a greenhouse effect that did not just warm the world, but ran away with it unstoppably. A feedback loop where heat-trapping gases thickened the atmosphere, which in turn trapped more heat until the planet's water turned to steam, further thickening the sky and accelerating the process. The cycle continued, ruthless and absolute, until the world was sterilized, its surface remade by fire and pressure into the inferno we measure today. This journey has taught us that the habitable zone, that sliver of space around a star where water can exist as a liquid, is not a gentle cradle. It is a tightrope. Earth walks that tightrope. On one side is the frozen emptiness embodied by Mars, a world that lost its atmosphere and froze. On the other is Venus, a world that thickened its atmosphere and burned. We exist in the fragile, precarious balance between two extremes. We are a miracle of equilibrium, a delicate dance of geology, atmosphere, and distance maintained over billions of years. To look at Venus is to see what happens when the dance falters. It is to realize that a world can die, not in a sudden explosive cataclysm, but in a slow, inexorable fever. And so the time comes to leave the mirror behind. With commands sent from our console, the orbiter slowly, silently begins its great turn. The thrusters fire in short, precise bursts, puffs of vapor vanishing into the vacuum. The majestic, cloud-wrapped sphere of Venus slides from the center of the main viewport. It shrinks, becoming a brilliant crescent, then a dazzling star, then just one point of light among countless others. The ship turns its back on the sun's second child and begins to scan the darkness for its third. There is a profound emptiness in the moments that follow. The stars are cold, sharp, and absolute. They offer no comfort, no sense of belonging. They are sublime in their indifference. For a long time we see nothing but the void and its distant ancient fires. We are adrift in the great ocean between worlds, our purpose here fulfilled, with nothing left but the long fall home. And then we see it. It appears first as a faint speck easily lost if you were not looking for it. A tiny point of light, no more significant than any other. But it is not the silver white of Venus, nor the fiery red of Mars. It is a pale, impossible blue. As the ship aligns and the telescopes focus, that speck resolves into a small, fragile disk. A marble of sapphire and pearl hanging in the black velvet of space. Earth. From here, it is silent. There are no signs of the 7 billion souls who call it home. No hint of the frantic, beautiful, chaotic life that covers its surface. There are no borders visible, no signs of conflict, no noise from its cities. There is only the serene, swirling white of clouds, the deep, impossible blue of its oceans, and the subtle, earthy greens and browns of its continents. It looks so small, so vulnerable. To see Earth from this distance after having orbited its hellish twin is to understand the meaning of the word home for the first time. The data from the Venusian probe contained gigabytes of information on temperature, pressure, and chemical composition. But its most important message was unwritten. It was the story of what is absent there and what is present here. The data does not speak of the feeling of cool rain on your skin or the smell of damp earth after a storm. It contains no measurement for the sound of wind rustling through the leaves of a forest or the sight of sunlight filtering through a canopy. It has no metric for the gravity that holds you to the ground, a gentle, constant embrace. It cannot describe the taste of clean water, the warmth of another's hand, or the intricate, interconnected web of life that makes a forest, a reef, an ecosystem. These things are the true wealth of our world. We left Earth to explore another planet, but in the end, the journey was about discovering our own. We have traveled hundreds of millions of kilometers only to truly see the place where we began. The long journey home has commenced. The ship is a silent vessel, now a seed, carrying a precious cargo of knowledge and perspective. The days will stretch into weeks, the weeks into months. The blue marble in the viewport will slowly grow, resolving from a point of light into a world. But it will never look the same to us again. We are no longer just explorers. We are messengers returning with a story. It is a story of two sisters born of the same star stuff, one who walks in the light and one who was lost to the fire. It is a story that reminds us that a home is not a right, but a privilege. It is a state of grace, a delicate balance that is not guaranteed. The emptiness of space no longer feels alienating. It feels clarifying. It is the canvas against which the miracle of our living world is painted. And as we fall back toward that distant gentle light, a quiet resolve settles in the heart. The mission was not to conquer Venus or even to fully understand it. The mission was to return with a new set of eyes capable of seeing the profound, astonishing, and fragile beauty of the ground beneath our own feet.